July 28th meeting of the Acushnet Public Library Board of Trustees. We are being audio taped and videotaped via Zoom, and we do have a quorum. The first thing I'd like to do today, aside from the agenda, is to just introduce our newest member, which is Danielle Guillemette. She was voted in on our last election, and I just wanted to introduce you to the board. So we have Nancy Francis, we have Jerry Howland, Diane Ferreira,
It's me.
and Steve Reel, and of course myself, and we have Dina. And we welcome you, and we're happy that you're here for our first meeting. First item of business on the agenda is the Secretary's report from June 30th. Does anyone have any clarifications or questions to those minutes? Nope. Nope. If not, we just need a motion.
I make a motion to accept the secretary's report.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, next we have the library budget. Old and new.
Yes, old and new. I sent you the FY21 final budget and the FY21 snapshot as of Friday, the 24th. So I'll start with the FY21 final. You can see that at the end, we were 99.3% spent out, turning back a little over $1,800 to the general fund. I think considering the fact that we were closed, or at least the building was closed from March through the end of, or mid-June, we did pretty well in expending as much of the budget as possible. So we probably would have been 100% spent out if it hadn't been for COVID, but considering what state we were in, I think we did pretty well. So unless you have any specific questions regarding the FY20 budget, I'll just move on to FY21.
Nope, I don't have any questions.
No.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Nope.
You can always come back to it if someone does have a question. But in terms of FY21, the budget we have, again, considering the state of things right now, I'm confident we'll do the best we can with this budget this fiscal year. It's 10% less than what we had initially requested. So it's not a 10% cut of what we had last fiscal year. It's in fact only a few $100s less than last fiscal year. It's just that 10% cut of what we had requested initially for FY21. But as you can see, we've had one pay period so far and one longevity payment through the salary line portion. So we're right on track with where we need to be for that. Actually, we've had 2 payroll periods, and that reflects both of them. And one was a partial pay period, I'll note. In terms of operating, I will go through it line by line because I usually like to do that anyway for the first meeting of the fiscal year. So I will go through it line by line. Jerry, I don't think you have to note line by line unless you'd like to.
Okay.
I know I go fast. But if anyone has any specific questions, please ask. The energy line, where we stayed the same as last fiscal year at $10,500. I think we've got a good handle on energy in terms of the AC and heating through the HVAC, and in terms even with the heated walkway now working again, at least as of last year, hopefully this year. I think we're good with the energy line. Building and grounds, we were able to keep the same as last year, and I think that that will be plenty to get us through this fiscal year. We did take the drop in the equipment and repairs line from 500 last fiscal year to only 100 this year. And as you may remember, I mentioned that I don't anticipate repairing any of our equipment or needing new equipment this fiscal year. So I'm definitely still comfortable with that drop to $100. In tech support, that's the sales tech support line. And because that's a contractual obligation, it couldn't drop. So we kept it at we were able to keep it at the $16.98, and I've already paid that bill. So that's 100% spent out. And we won't need sales won't need anything else for us for tech support this fiscal year. In terms of the telephone line, we did increase that by $75. I'll just remind you that we don't pay the bills directly. We're part of a town plan for AT&T and Verizon. So I just get statements like once a month. And we had, for the past couple of years, had repeatedly been going over the $700 in that line. And that's why I had asked us to go up to the $775 this fiscal year. And as you can see, if you look back on the FY21 budget, we didn't even spend out 75% of, excuse me, the FY20 budget, we didn't even spend out 75% from that line this year. So I don't, know from year to year, since it's not a contract through me personally, what the pricing is. So we may not need the $775, but it's a cushion that I'm still happy to have in that line. And I haven't received any notification from the town yet this month for July's bills. Education dropped from 500 to 100, assuming that this fiscal year there won't be too much happening in terms of programming, or in terms of attending any kind of conference or any kind of programming that normally is covered through the education line for staff. So I still am happy, or not happy, but still confident with that decrease this fiscal year. The sales line, again, that's contractual. So we did not drop from the $13,661 that sales had given us as an estimate. It turns out that thanks to federal funding, sales was able to drop the assessments for this fiscal year a little bit, which we didn't find out until we got the bill. So the bill for sales for the fiscal year, instead of being $13,661, was only $12,326. So that's it for this year. So we do have an overage in that line, which could certainly be used to make up any difference within the operating line, which is one of the reasons why sales worked really hard to apply their IMLS federal funding to helping out libraries, because they know that we're all in tight spots right now. So we're appreciative to have that extra money that can go towards something else. Like the $1,000 cut we took to office supplies this fiscal year, which, again, like I told you when we prepared this budget with its cuts, I still feel confident about that. We're really stocked well with supplies that we need, but you never know when toner prices are going to increase, or paper prices, or any other supplies that come up unexpectedly. So even though we've only got the 1,000 there, we'll be okay with it, I think. And now we do have that overage from the sales line to help out with any additional expenses. Children's education, that line we went up to 400. I had anticipated using some of that line to help cover summer reading costs, but thanks to the Friends group, our summer reading costs are pretty well taken care of, but we will certainly use that for any other programming, particularly remote or virtual programming that we may plan for kids in the future. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the director's report portion. And our material line, unfortunately, we did drop from $26,000 to $22,500. We had been at $22,500 for a very long time. We only went up to the $26,000 a couple of years ago, which was felt like such a fantastic victory at the time. So it's just sad for personal reasons to have gone down to the $22,500. As a reminder, I'll mention it in this point. 16% of our budget, of the total appropriated budget, needs to be spent on material for direct patron use. So for us, that's about $45,000. So only half of that, or a little more than half, the $22,500, is covered by, or that is half, a little more, is covered by the appropriated budget. So we have to find other sources to make up the difference for that in order to qualify for state aid. So that's my concern with that line. We do have other sources. We have the Friends, who sponsored the Museum Pass program. We have state aid to help. You know, the funny part of state aid is you have to spend state aid to get state aid, but we do have state aid to help with that. But that is always my concern with that line, is that we still are expected to spend 16% of our total appropriated budget on material, and our materials line has dropped down once again. So I think going forward in future fiscal years, that will be a line that we look to add a little to each year. And finally, the travel line, we cut completely this year. So there's no money in travel. So if anyone does get to, if it gets to a point, you know, where we're attending meetings in person instead of through Zoom, you know, the network meetings I attend or the trainings I try to send staff to, if at some point those go back to in person, then I will most likely just be using state aid to cover the mileage requirement. So that's where we're at with our total budget. We're already 11.2% spent out, and that's mainly because we've spent out the really large amount for the sales membership and the tech support lines, with both of those being spent out or close to spent out. Any questions specifically on any of this? I won't go through it in such detail any other time this fiscal year, most likely, unless when we're preparing the budget for FY22, or if you have specific, you know, if you want me to do that. But I always like to do that, especially for our new trustee, but also just to remind everyone of where we stand from the cut that we did.
I don't have any questions. It looks good. We need a motion to accept. We'll accept both the final FY20 and the first FY21.
I move we accept both. Whoops.
Motion to accept the final FY20 and the first installment of FY21.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, old business. We have the pergola for the deck as the first order of old business.
We've been talking about the pergola for a while now, and I don't know if you've come by, but it looks great so far, what's there. Jim Merritt and his crew are doing a fantastic job, not a surprise. It also shouldn't be too much of a surprise. When we initially spoke with Jim, probably about a year ago, we had the building committee of the trustees meet with him. And also the building committee had gotten some pricing on pre-made pergolas. And, you know, at the time, Jim felt the project should be done in-house. And he also felt he could do it for less than the quotes that we had gotten for a pre-made product. Well, it turns out it's going to be a little bit more, which shouldn't be a surprise, because I think normally when you take on a project, you know, I'm sure you've all experienced this personally. When something is being custom made, the more research you do into it, the more you find out that it's going to be a little bit more than you thought.
Costs more, it takes longer.
Right. And also, when we had originally discussed the pergola, the discussion was that it would only cover half of the deck, which I wasn't really on board with at the time, but it seemed as a cost-saving measure for the pre-made product, at least two, which only came in a certain size, it seemed it was better than nothing. But Jim's doing the entire deck, so he's doing double the amount that we had gotten the quote for anyway. So I just want to remind people of that. I sent you his proposal just this morning, so if you haven't had a chance to look at it, no worries. He is estimating that without Sunbrella fabric to go on the cross pieces, and I'll discuss that more in a minute, but without the fabric, the total will be $4,492. And with Sunbrella fabric, he's estimating that we would need an additional $1,000 for that, for a total of $5,492. And that will be what I'm asking you to accept today, is a quote of $5,492 with the fabric. The reasoning for the fabric just came up for the first time in a discussion last week in talking about services that we normally offer that we're unable to offer right now. And that key service that we're unable to offer right now is computer use, because we don't have people coming into the building. So as we've discussed before, they can access our Wi-Fi from the parking lot, but if they don't have a computer to access the internet on, or a device, then they're sort of out of luck. If we were able to cover the pergola with Sumbrella fabric, then it would meet the immediate need of how to provide computer use without having people come in the building, because we would be able to set up 1 or 2 distanced laptop stations on the pergola that would be covered from the sun. And we would be able to see, staff inside the building would be able to see the people using the laptops out on the pergola. So that's a safety concern of mine, is if we let people, go sit under the shade of a tree with a laptop, we might not see that laptop again. But and the policy regarding the laptop usage that you approved is that it has to be done within the building. But if we could make an exception to that policy and have something set up on the deck where it would be in the shade, then we'd be meeting the need of computer use. It's a short-term solution. It's not, certainly not a long-term solution, but while the weather is still good, it would allow us to at least offer something. So I want you to keep that in mind with the Sumbrella fabric. I mean, the Sumbrella fabric also has long-term, long-term use, because eventually we will be able to do programs again, and eventually we can use the deck as a programming space. So having that coverage on the deck would be great too. So anyway, long story short, I'm asking you to approve the whole thing. I think it's great. I think if you just see what's up so far, you just can't, I mean, a custom work is so much different from something pre-made. It's going to match the style of the building. I mean, Jim is the person who designed this renovation, so it fits in with what we have inside the building. It will fit with the outside, and I think it's going to be just wonderful. But he didn't know how much the cross pieces were going to be. I never imagined they were going to be as much as they are, and that's what really has bumped up the total. If you take the Sumbrella even out of it, it's the cross pieces. And what he has in mind will involve very little in terms of immediate upkeep. It won't need to be repainted next year or the year after that. He's looking at ways that this will save us money in the long term, because it's not something that will need annual upkeep in terms of these cross pieces, whereas another version that he was willing to look at would involve sort of an annual maintenance of being repainted or fixed, reattached, that kind of thing. So he's pretty confident in that with this, that we won't have to worry about doing anything on the deck for a long while. And I did speak with him about the Sumbrella fabric also, because I couldn't find anything online about a warranty or anything like that, but I did speak to him right before the meeting. And he feels that if it is taken care of properly and is taken down by the building department in the late fall, and then stored in the basement and then put back up in the springtime, that will really help with the any wear and tear, because his only concern would be the weight of snowfall on the fabric. But if it's removed and stored away, and then we wouldn't have to worry about that. So I'm always confident with Jim's plans, so I am confident with the idea of approving at least the quote as presented.
I think it's wonderful, Dina. I've seen it, and the quality of the work is incredible, what the kids do and what Jim does. So we couldn't get any better deal for the price. I think it's outstanding.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree also.
I do too. Looks good. And I was wondering about bringing the fabric in.
Mm-hmm.
That is a big thing in this part of the country.
Right. And yeah, he said that wouldn't be a problem for his crew to come over and handle that for us too, so it wouldn't fall to me or to our custodian to do something like that. He would handle that for us. And we have plenty of space in the basement, that we could store something like that too without worrying about, and thanks to the dehumidifiers that you all purchased, that the air quality down there is really good too, so there's no reason to anticipate that it would be damaged while being stored.
Okay.
So just to remind you, I did send you the balance of the gift account in the email, so there is money there. I will say that, as some of you might remember, it's been a long time since we've had to discuss this gift account in detail, but how it's worked before is there's a released funds portion of the account, and there's the balance of the account that's considered unreleased funds. So we would need to release a little bit of money from the unreleased funds also. So as Jen knows, I'm asking you to accept the quote, and I'm also going to ask that you vote to approve moving $2,000 from unreleased funds to released funds, which just means that you've approved their expenditure. So that way the finance office knows that this has been approved by the board.
How much? 1 or 2,000?
2,000
Okay.
to move from unreleased to released. So approve the quote, and then
Okay. I move that we accept the quote and approve moving 2,000 from unreleased to released.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
great. Thank you. I'm actually going to just text Jim right now because he's already called wanting to know the answer.
Get
So
back
I'm just
to
going to
work.
text him. We can continue to talk, but I'm just going to say it's a go. And there, great.
Well, that
We'll
was
be
easy.
thrilled. Yeah, thank you all.
The next matter of old business is the reopening plan.
I put that on just because I didn't know if anyone would have any questions for me, but also I put it on just in case something were to come up, in a span of a couple of days between when I sent the notice out and today. But things are pretty status quo. We're doing takeout, as you know, since June 11th. We expanded the hours of takeout on July 13th. So we're now offering 38 hours of takeout to the public. It was really important once the program was established. It felt really important to expand the hours so that we could offer evening hours for people who work during the day, and some morning hours also for people who work later in the day and morning is more, or they're just out running errands in the morning. So people seem really pleased with the expanded hours. Again, they're staggered like our normal hours, because I didn't want to offer takeout at times when we're not normally open to the public. I want the transition from takeout to reopening to be as smooth as possible. And if we start opening at 11 o'clock for takeout on a Friday morning, and then we reopen the building and we don't open till 1 o'clock, that could create some confusion for people who become used to coming at 11 o'clock on Friday for takeout. So the hours are now Mondays and Wednesdays, 11 to 7, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 to 7, Fridays, 1 to 5, and Saturdays, 10 to 2. And like I said, people seem happy with these hours. And, I think just about 99% of people who are using the takeout program for new material or who are returning older material are very pleased with the hours. So that's where we're at in terms of hours. We will be opening the book drop very soon. I don't want to say when, but it's very soon. Maybe even before this meeting airs. So, but people should check our website, acupl.org, or follow us on Facebook to get the latest on when the drop will be open. We know that's been an issue for some people, but to be honest, we didn't know what the return volume was going to be like when we started takeout. And more importantly, I have to be very concerned about my staff and how comfortable we are with the services we're offering. I really needed to know that everyone was completely on board before launching a service. And the idea of opening the book drop when we're being so cautious of how we're handling material was concerning to me. But we've had great success with the returns at the window. The staff is very comfortable with how we're handling material. They're very comfortable with the quarantine period. We're still doing the 7 days for quarantine, which may sound excessive, but the staff is very comfortable with the quarantine. So we're going to unlock the book drop and see what happens. My big concern, so we're working on signage for this right now. My big concern is expressing to people that we are not accepting donations. So I just want to use this as an opportunity to say, we never accept donations in the book drop anyway, but people often leave donations in the book drop, even though signage is there saying no donations. But I'm sort of going to put a plea out to people to respect the no donations, because as you know, the Friends are not doing an annual sale this year, and we have no place to store and or quarantine donations. So I really need the public to be on board with us for this. We're opening the book drop for the benefit of the public, so I'm going to really hope that people can just follow the simple request. We're going to, on the outside drop, we're going to list nearby options where people can bring donations instead of us. We appreciate when people think of us. But, you know, no one wants your encyclopedia from 1975, first of all. We really don't want it. You have to just be cool with throwing things away sometimes. But I will make a list of, if you have new books, this is where you might consider bringing them. But just recycle, you know, rip the covers off those encyclopedias and recycle the pages already. Or your moldy items. But anyway, that's where we're at on two key things. Expanded hours, we're opening the drop very soon. And finally, I was in a department head meeting last week. As if you read my director's report, you would have seen that. But there's no reopen date for any town buildings yet. So I don't have any kind of timeline that's been presented to me to offer to you. And as long as you're good with us continuing to offer service that way that we currently are, then I would like to keep doing this for as long as we can. The Board of Health agent is in no rush to get town buildings open. When we were discussing it last week, that's when, you know, it had been reported that an employee from Fairhaven at the town hall had tested positive for COVID, and he immediately was like, see, that's why we don't want to reopen, because they, you know, reopened and then they had to shut down again. And then it turns out that was a false positive test result and the person didn't have COVID. But we don't need to put ourselves or our public or, you know, anyone else through that right now, I don't think. So, and if we can get the computers out on the deck, even better. Then I would really feel that we could keep going, you know, with this for a while. So as long as you're good with that, then great.
I'm fine with it. I think it's going fantastic.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, me too.
It's a lot of work, and it's way more work than I expected, but I do think in terms of the takeout, it's going really well. And we've got a perfect setup for it with that deck, you know, being right along the community room. So
It might be a lot of work behind the scenes, but it doesn't, when you go, it's such a breeze that it doesn't seem like it's a lot of work, because
that's true.
It just works like clockwork. It's just, which is great. I mean,
yeah,
you know, doing a great job.
That's true. Yeah, thanks for saying that. I think on the patrons end, yes, it is super easy. It's just on our end, but we're happy to do it. I certainly don't mean that as a, you know, it's certainly not a complaint. It's just, wow, like, we're all wearing sneakers in here for a reason, because we're doing a lot of running back and forth and running around the building and having some great conversations. Yeah. But it's good.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody have anything on the reopening plan? Any questions? Any thoughts? No.
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
We'll continue on. New business is the statewide membership for the to the United for Libraries. Tina, did you want to talk about that for a second?
Yep. So United for Libraries is a division of the American Library Association for trustees, friends, library directors, anyone who really has any interest in supporting a library is encouraged to be a member. And through federal funding, the Mass Board of Library Commissioners has provided a statewide membership. So anyone in the state of Massachusetts can, for free, participate in United for Libraries services. To be honest, we've had a membership to United for Libraries for the board in the past. There was a newsletter that came out that occasionally I would remember to hand off at meetings to people, and sometimes I'd hand it off and then never get it back, so I didn't know if it made its way around or what happened to it. But anyway, when I was at the Welcome webinar this morning to learn more about it, and Jen was there also, I had no idea how much they actually offer. There's some wonderful courses that you can participate in, completely self-paced on your own time. There's some really great information, related to COVID, but it's also just information related to being a member of a library board and what the role is and what the ethics are behind, being on a library board and the whole yard. There's a what do they call it? I wrote it down on a piece of paper that I think I left in my office, but it's sort of like a crash course in being a library trustee. Oh, they call it short takes for trustees. And it's not something you're required to take, but if you've never had the opportunity to attend a Mass Board of Library Commissioners Trustees training session in person, something like this might be a great thing. Or if you took it a long time ago and you want to be able to follow up to see, what's happening in the world of trusteeship. Is that a thing? But you know what I'm saying. It just might be something that's beneficial. I do believe, and I've said this to Jen, I do believe that this board could be called upon in a different way over the next year. The Board of Trustees is an advocacy. One of the roles is an advocacy for libraries, and we don't know what's going to happen on a local level or a state level as a fallout from COVID-19, and you may be asked to step up in a way that you haven't had to do in the past. So I think taking a look at anything that's available through United for Libraries might help in what to be prepared for, or how sort of with some how-tos maybe. I mean, that was my takeaway from it. I don't know if you had the same feeling, Jen, or not with that, but.
I did, and what I really liked about it was, I mean, even though like today's meeting was a set up time, it was also recorded. So they're supposed to be sending out that email with the link for the recording, which then you can watch like at your own, at your own pace, at your own leisure, on your own time. And the quick takes, what I saw for the trustees, it's not even the whole video it's not even 11 minutes long. So, and I thought, wow, that's really great. Like even just little snapshots of, oh wow, I got a couple minutes here. Let me kind of brush up on that, because I do feel that, as Dina said, I think that with all of this, we're going to be reeling from this aftermath of COVID for a couple years to come, and who knows what we're going to have to do. I mean, if state aid doesn't happen for whatever reason, I mean, we're going to have to come up with something or a way that we can try to supplement that, funding in order to keep our library going. So I think I know I'm planning to go on there and take a couple of the webinar things, and they do have different, you can sign up for different things, different topics. If you want to be informed when they're going to go live, you could go live, or they're always recorded. So it was really good. It was about 45 minutes this morning, and I learned a lot in the short 45 minutes, for sure.
Good. So when we get the email that has the video link, I'll make sure I send that out to everyone, along with the link for how to sign up, because you do have to sign up, or you should sign up through the United for Libraries page and become a member, which again is free. It's paid for, by the state, and there's an option to click for that, which she walks you right through in the welcome video today. So you don't even have to register or become a member prior to watching the video. But I think you'd get some interesting, just some a different way of looking at things maybe as a result of watching it. And I think it could be really beneficial for everybody. They're doing a virtual conference next week, and I am going to try to participate in a few of those things, and a lot of the sessions will be recorded. So again, I would share any of those links with you if there's something that I think would benefit this board. I mean, of course, as with anything else, not everything is going to pertain to us or our library, but I do think there's a lot of beneficial info on there. And it's great that the state, that the MBLC has provided this for us. And I would like to think that we can take some advantage of it, because I think it will benefit the board and the library in the long run.
The only other thing I want to mention is that they also had a tab on there for not just trustees, but also the friends.
Right.
So that people, people that, you might not know what they do or how it's different from being on the board. Some people think they're, one and the same, or everyone, maybe they don't even know what the difference is. But they did have some things on there for the friends to show what they do as well.
Yep. And I plan to send that link to, when we get that email with the video from today, I plan to send that to Kristen Liotti, the president of the Friends, so that, and then she can determine if she should share it with the rest of the group, which I imagine she most likely would. So, but I will definitely share that with her.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think that it's great that everything is recorded and archived so we can access it on our own time.
That's so key right now, because not everyone is available at 9 o'clock in the morning or at 6 o'clock at night. But maybe you have time somewhere else in the day. So I agree. I think it's so helpful, even with all of the webinars and Zoom sessions that me and the staff have been participating in. It's easy to get distracted. I mean, even this morning I told Jen that I was the only one here and the phone's ringing and someone's ringing the doorbell and I'm trying to watch this session. So I might go back later and just catch a few things that I missed. So it's really great that it's being done this way. So right, we can take advantage when we have the time, not at someone else's time frame. So I agree, Danielle. I think it's great.
Which is good.
Do you know, I'm sorry, do you know how long it usually takes for them to release the recording of it after it's done?
Most ALA presentations at this time have been 1 to 2 days. They didn't give a time today, or if she did say it, I didn't notice it, but it's been a pretty quick turnaround time. So I would imagine it would be 24 to 48 hours.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. And as soon as I get the link, I'll make sure I forward it to you all.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Anybody else have any thoughts or questions on that? Nope.
Nope.
Okay. The director's report.
So I almost wasn't going to send one, and then I thought, well, for posterity reasons, it's important to send one. So even though it's, I mean, it's still quite long. I expected it to be a little bit longer, but got it on the 2 pages. So just quick, we've talked about a few of these items already, but I do just want to mention summer reading. Summer reading is so different from for us this year. It's like night and day. But there's been some really cool things that have happened as a result of doing it the way we're doing it. Sandra, I think, had wanted to do this last year too, but we couldn't figure out how to do it. But this year, since we have that online software, Beanstack, there was a way to add in a goal, like a community reading goal. So not just a personal goal, but let's reach this community goal. And so we had some back and forth, but Sandra decided that 30,000 minutes of reading for the summer for the community seemed like a feasible goal. But boy, our community has like way surpassed our expectations. We still have a few weeks to go with summer reading, and as of today, they've already logged 27,577 minutes. And the program is open to people of all ages. So we have just under 100 people who are actively participating, but there are adults Kid, of course, plenty of kids. You can tell that there are adult and kid reading pairs happening, which is great. But there are plenty of adults participating who don't have any children or grandchildren that we're aware of. They're just participating on their own. And we're hearing great feedback from them that they love logging the minutes and sort of keeping a journal in a sense of what they're reading this summer, and it's helping them stay focused on any of their reading goals, or maybe they didn't even have a reading goal, but now they do, a personal goal. So we've raised our community goal from 30,000 to 40,000 now, and we're hoping that the community will all chip in and help us surpass the goal of 40,000 minutes. We're planning something fun in exchange for reaching this goal. So I'm not going to say what that is yet, but we are planning something for the end of August. If we can keep everyone on track with this great reading that they're doing. So we're, you know, it might sound strange to say we're proud of people for doing this, but I think at a time where people didn't want anything else to do with like another thing I have to do online, we think it's great the way people have embraced Beanstack and logging their reading and encouraging their kids to do that, or doing it for their kids. We know the parents are doing it for the kids. So we thank everyone for participating, and we hope they're having fun. We've thrown in weekly prizes, which is something we didn't announce, but as the program started, we thought, oh, come on, we got to do something. So thanks to the friends, we've thrown in some weekly prizes. And this week we added some s'mores making kits to the mix, which have been popular when we've done in-person summer reading before. So we're pleased to see that people are still basically choosing the book bundles though over the s'mores kits. So at least now.
Maybe the chocolate melts on the way home.
I know, I did think about that. So we were going to refrigerate the chocolate in the hopes that that would buy you some time to get home between,
Bring it to the library.
Yeah. So, yeah, so I mean, it's like, I have to say, I mean, the staff really rallied to create the site basically through Beanstack. I mean, Elizabeth, Bethany, and Sandra did an outstanding job of that, and everyone else got on board with learning how to use it so that they could explain it to people too. And I don't know, it's gone above and beyond what I expected. So I'm really pleased with that. And I think, you know, the people who are using it are really enjoying it. So, and that's good. And we're still doing our Read and Bead program, which we normally do, but we've got about 50 kids participating this year, which is much less than usual, but it's actually much more than I expected. It's great. They're coming to the takeout window to get their beads every week, and I think that's going really well. And we're offering those weekly crafts, and that has far surpassed what any of us had imagined. Over the past 2 weeks, we've handed out over 80 bags each week. They're very simple, you know, paper crafts, or simple-ish paper crafts, and people have responded so well to them. I think the kids are getting a big kick out of them, but I think you know, the adults who are picking them up for the kids are also getting a kick out of it. And like we like to say, it's a great project for a rainy day. Like, you know, you pick it up on a sunny day when it's 95 degrees out and maybe you don't want to work on a craft, but if you save it for a rainy day when you're looking for something to do, that's something to keep in mind. So we've handed out over, I guess it's about 325 now, 325 bags over the past few weeks. So we'll be doing it for at least this week and 2 more weeks, but if interest stays high, we may expand that a little bit and keep going with it. I'm sure you read about our Carpenter Ants issue in my director's report, which is all good now, thanks to Able Pest Control, and hopefully won't be a problem again for a long time. That was pretty nasty. And Mosquito Squad, thanks to the friends, they're spraying again for the remainder of the season, which will be from now and through the end of September, which is great since we're expanding those takeout, or we have expanded the takeout hours until 7 o'clock, 4 days a week. So we hope that people will feel not only safe and comfortable coming up to the building during this time, but also now that they, you know, hopefully won't have to worry about mosquitoes either, at least when they're coming up to the takeout window. And And the only other thing I wanted to mention from the report is that I am working on the ARIS report. Like I mentioned, that's the first of 2 annual reports required by the state for the state aid program. That's the ARIS portion is the statistics-based portion. The next one will be the financial report. They've extended the deadline, but I'm still hoping to complete it by mid-August. So by the next time we meet, hopefully, I'll have completed the report, which I can present to you. And at that time, I'll also present the statistics to you from March until now, because I haven't presented any statistics to you since we met at the beginning of March. So I'll catch you up on where we are. Just to mention real quick, at the height of the closure of the building in April, we were seeing a 120% increase in ebook usage. So though we weren't able to circulate physical material, the ebook usage skyrocketed with our patrons. We had about a 50% increase in audiobook usage. And that continues to be steady now. It's not as high as it was in April and May, but we still see that a lot of our patrons are using our digital formats, in addition to returning to the library for physical items, or in some cases, in place of coming back to the library. We continue to receive a lot of recommendations for purchase also, so that's great. And I'll make sure I share all those stats with you when I do ARIS with you, but I just wanted to quickly mention that the ebook and audiobook, e-audio usage have been very impressive.
Dina, is
Yeah.
there anything I can do to help you with that?
No, it's the network gives us, I mean, the network sort of improves every year on how they give us the statistics. It's just a matter of plugging it in.
I
And
got you.
we also have to make a lot of notes so that we remember from year to year why we're plugging in certain information one year from the next. So I started doing it, and once you get a rhythm with it, it goes pretty quick, but when you're interrupted, then it just sort of throws everything off. So I need to use, you know, a Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday morning when I have enough staff to answer the phone in the building and we don't open for takeout until 1. I need to use like 4 hours one morning, and I could probably just knock it out as soon as I find that time. So hopefully, you know, within the next week or 2, I'll be able to finish it. But thank you for that. I might feel differently when I come to the financial report, so I'll keep you posted.
Keep me in mind.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the network, I mean, sales is so great to us and how they present us with the information. They every year I think, well, they couldn't make it any clearer, and then they seem to make it a little clearer the next year. So they've really worked really hard over the past, I'd say 3-4 years to present us with something that's really easy to follow along with, and it doesn't require us to do much research.
Good.
Yeah. And we do a really great job in-house of keeping track of our programming statistics from month to month. We have a template that we use for that, and the staff, you know, help me out with plugging in statistics there. So I just have to go right to that Excel sheet and pop out those numbers too. So it's like I said, it's just a matter of finding the time.
Good.
And unless anyone has any questions from that director's report for me, that's all I was going to highlight.
Anybody have anything?
Yeah, a question, Dina. You had mentioned about collecting food for
Yes.
the local pantries. Have you collected any food yet? And do you still, I'm sure you still need a number, but I have to get that to you.
Actually got some email addresses, and I just reached out to 2 people from the Shepherd's Pantry yesterday and heard back from them yesterday afternoon. So I haven't officially announced anything like that yet, but I will say that yes, we normally have a donation bin here for the Shepherd's Pantry, which is the food pantry in town, and people are often, you know, filling that up for us, and then they come and pick it up, and it's great. But because the building's been closed, you know, we obviously haven't been able to collect food. And I had the idea that since we're, you know, through the end of this year, fines will not be a concern for people with regular material, that, you know, if we were to put the the bin for the Shepherd's Pantry out on the deck, let's say, under an umbrella, or now we'll have a pergola. At the time I was thinking of it, the pergola hadn't started yet. But if we put that right on the deck, people could just leave food donations right there. But I wanted to check with Shepherd's Pantry staff first to make sure that was something that they were cool with us doing before I just started doing it, because I wasn't sure how they're accepting donations right now.
All right,
But
good.
it turns out they've been open the whole time,
I know.
and they're collecting donations, and they were thrilled to hear that we'll put a call out for non-perishables for people. So if you happen to be coming by and maybe you bought some extra cans of soup when you were making a run at the grocery store at the end of March, and now you find you don't want that extra can of soup, so I don't know, you donate that to the Shepherd's Pantry, and it'll go to someone else. So I will be putting out, once we officially open the book drop, I'm going to send out a newsletter about that, and I'm going to include in the newsletter that people can access the Shepherd's Pantry bin for donations. And my thought right now is to leave it out on the deck. Obviously, I can't do that while they're constructing the pergola, but we'll come up with another solution of a place where it can be. And hopefully, we know that there are a lot of generous people in this town, so I'm sure people will stop by and leave something. So thanks for mentioning that. Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome.
Anything else? No. Okay, do we want to set our next meeting date?
I would.
Okay.
I'm wondering if Tuesday, August 25th works for everyone
Good.
at the same time at
Yeah,
noon.
should for me, yeah.
That's fine for me.
And unless
too.
anything comes up, if something else comes up, I may call for a meeting sooner, but I am on vacation the week of the 17th. And I'm just gonna have a staycation now. But I figured then once that'll give me a day to get back into the swing of things, and then we can meet. And I'll most likely send out the agenda and anything we need prior to the 17th. That way you have it in advance of the meeting. But yeah, if August 25th works, that's great, noon. And we'll have Chris set up a Zoom meeting again.
Dina, I had a question.
Sure.
Do we have to approve that August filing of your errors report?
No, I haven't. Well, you wouldn't have to approve it anyway. It just requires the chair's signature. But yeah, because I haven't completed it yet, you won't have to approve it. I just present it to you. Yeah, no, thanks for mentioning that. I just present it to you so that you know, but Jen, the chair is required to sign off on it unless the chair isn't available, and then someone else can. But I'll make sure I get that to Jen in plenty of time so that it can get sent out. And I am trying to complete it before I go on vacation. That's my goal. But then I'll have it ready for the 25th to present to you.
Good.
Yeah, you don't have to approve that one.
Sounds good.
Great. Thanks though, Nancy.
Welcome.
All right, if we have nothing else. need a motion.
I just wanted to say that I went down to meet with Pam Labonte, the town clerk, this morning, and I got sworn in, so I'm all set.
Awesome.
And now I'm official.
Great.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Danielle. I had meant to email you earlier to ask, and then I said, oh, I'm not going to ask. I'll just wait till later. But that's great. Excellent.
That is great.
Official.
Hopefully we'll be able to meet in person at some point.
Yeah.
Who
My
knows?
goodness. Who knows, right?
Maybe under the pergola.
Yeah.
Right, that's
There you
true.
go.
And that might be a spot.
We may be able to fit, 7 chairs 6 feet apart under there.
Exactly.
We're
It's a
onto
big
something here.
space. Yeah.
Maybe onto something. That may be September's meeting when it's not quite as hot, but not
Right.
so cold.
Right.
We'll have to look into that.
Yeah. It's a great idea.
If we have no other business, then we just need a motion.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Oh,
This July 28th meeting of the Acushnet Public Library Board of Trustees is officially adjourned. It is 12:57.